Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name's Georgina. I am a certified intuitive eating counsellor and health coach with a background in physiotherapy. I'm also a recovered chronic dieter and binge eater, and this channel is all about supporting you to transform your health through the 10 principles of intuitive eating. If you've also recognised that diets just don't work and you're thinking, what on earth do I do now to get to where I want to be, you're in the right spot. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing about the 10 principles of intuitive eating framework, and we're going to talk about each principle, what it's there for and how it's going to help you to transform how you're feeling about your body, your weight, your health, all those things in a much more peaceful and empowered way, so that you can get the results you're looking for without having to think that the only answer is in a diet, which as you may have found by now if you've watched some of my other videos, we know diets don't work, and it's not you that's failed the diets, it's the other way around. The diet industry is just not set to make you successful, it's set to make you fail and feel like it's your fault. So I'm here to tell you it's not, and there's another way that's far more supportive to get to where you want to be and feel peaceful and free in your body, and the 10 principles is going to be what's going to help you get there. And if you stay till the end of the video, I'll be going through the first step to take to start to implement the 10 principles, so you can really sort of feel supported in knowing what to do next once you're ready to let go of dieting. How do you do that? That will be the solutions that I'll provide for you, so you can go away and have something to actually get started with this process and feel empowered that it's possible for you as well. So do feel welcome to click the like and subscribe button, and then you'll get notified every time I release a video all about health, wellness and intuitive eating. Principles of intuitive eating is an empowerment model, and it's designed to support you with sort of two different aspects to it. The first one is to attune you to your body's inner wisdom and expertise by helping you reconnect with your inbuilt hunger and fullness cues, etc., and the ability to trust your body to tell you what it needs. And the other aspect of the intuitive eating empowerment attunement model is to help you let go of external beliefs that are usually cultivated through dieting, that present an obstacle to you being able to listen to your body and honour its needs with that wisdom that you've always had. So that examples of that would be food rules, body comparison, thinking you've got an ideal body shape you need to be to feel happy, for want of a better word. So that represents letting go and reframing those external values that you've collected over whatever experiences in life have led you to pursue dieting, and all that comes with that creates an obstacle to being able to tune in with what you've naturally always had the ability to do, which is to listen to your body, hunger and fullness, eat with trust and satisfaction and joy, and have a real mind, food and body connection with self. So principle 1 is reject the diet mentality. So that really encompasses you having a look at the experiences that you've had with dieting up until this point in time, and recognising that diets don't work. They are not set up to help you succeed and maintain your weight loss, which is usually one of the main focuses of diets is restriction of food in the pursuit of weight loss, whether that be to be in a thinner body regarding body image, or whether it's because you believe that's pursuit of health, or perhaps it's a combination of both. So it's recognising that it's an ineffective way to achieve either of those goals, and you are probably aware, if you're watching this video, that so far that probably hasn't worked for you, and any weight loss that you did maintain was perhaps for months or a couple of years at best, and then you've ended up putting the weight back on. And for 2/3 of people that pursue weight loss, you'll put more weight back on than you started with, which was my experience with the decade plus of dieting that I did from my late teens to my late 20s. But there's nothing, you've not failed, you're not a failure, it's the diet industry that's failed you. So it's really looking at letting go of, you know, the rules that you may have had around dieting, calorie counting, pursuing the thin ideal, and letting go of that to replace those rules with more empowering, supportive ways of honouring yourself fully. So principle number 2 is honour your hunger. And it's about recognising the need to fuel your body with enough adequate energy and carbohydrates, and recognition that if you ignore those hunger cues, you will trigger the primal switch for primal hunger that causes you then to overeat. It's a very common pattern to pick up if you've been dieting, where you have restricted beyond what your body can cope with before it really does need to take on more fuel. And if you start with this principle in the earlier stages of the work, if you're ready for that, then you'll find it's a really good foundation with which to rebuild trust in your body that diets have dismantled, because it's your first opportunity to actually start listening to your body again, which you might not have done for a really long time if you've been sort of absorbed in the diet world. So principle number 3 is called make peace with food. It's the most common one that people associate with intuitive eating, and tends to be the one that's the most misunderstood. So a lot of people, when they first come to this work, think that making peace with food means eating with wild abandon, and that they fear that if they eat whatever they want, which is what making peace with food is about, that all they'll eat is, you know, burgers, fries, sweets, and then they'll put on ginormous amounts of weight, and that's just not where they want to be. That's not their goal. It's none of those things, but it's understandable why, when you're very new to this process, why that may be, you know, a thought that you've had, or an understanding that you've come to around it. So making peace with food is actually about giving yourself unconditional permission to eat whatever you want, but with respect to what happens in dieting when you're under such strict control, where whatever rules you're following, whichever diet you're following, tells you what to eat, when to eat, what you should and shouldn't eat. What you will probably have noticed when you've followed any sort of process like that is it will lead to some sort of sabotage where you can't sustain the rigidity of it, and it will lead you to have really intense cravings, which will then trigger either an episode of overeating or perhaps even an episode of binge eating. So when you finally start to give yourself permission to eat, you take away that threat of restriction. Over time, and in combination with all the other principles, you will start to find that the intensity of the cravings begins to reduce, because you're not saying that all foods are off limits anymore. You're actually saying, oh, I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want. and that can make a huge difference in the calmness you start to experience around food, especially when you combine this principle with all the other principles where you start to key into hunger, key into fullness, work on, reducing emotional eating and all of those things. And it's actually really empowering when you have the right understanding of make peace with food. It's really freeing, but on a framework of trust rather than fear of loss of control. So principle 4 is called Challenge the Food Police, and it looks at all the negative and critical thoughts that you may have around your food choices that come from dieting. So looking at the morals you might have placed around foods, telling yourself that certain foods are good and certain foods are bad. You shouldn't eat this food versus another food because maybe you think it's going to be bad for your health, as an example. So the challenging the food police is about reframing those thoughts that really dieting has taught you, and being able to gently and compassionately reframe them with more neutral thoughts where there is no good or bad foods, but all foods can be seen as neutral. And that again is really supportive when you're healing your relationship with food and body through this framework. Taking the morals out of your food choices is really important, and it really does help you to, again, key more into trust and inner wisdom of your body to support the goals that you were pursuing through dieting that are not set to support you, and finding a more peaceful path towards feeling more accepting of your body in all different shapes that your body naturally may want to be, and eating in a way that feels good in your body without any rules or rigidity or all the things that diets teach you to have tight control and restriction, which we all know doesn't work because it just usually leads to overeating as the backlash of it. So principle number 5 is called Discover the Satisfaction Factor of Food, and this can be quite a surprising one when you start doing this work, because if you've been on a lot of diets, you may have never really asked yourself what you would like to eat, because you usually focused on what you should eat or what you're allowed to eat. And satisfaction factor is really important in cultivating the relationship you've got with listening to yourself and being in attunement with what your body actually wants. And it's very supportive to, again, healing your relationship with food and body. So it's re-exploring for you what you would enjoy to eat, and that might take a little bit of practice to actually reconnect with again. Some examples of it are looking at what would feel satisfying in any given snack or meal, and just observing, what actually for you is desirable. So that would be looking at the texture of food, the temperature, the filling volumes. So it could be that you want sort of light and airy foods versus a more grounding food, and exploring all those different aspects of what feels satisfying for you in any moment. So that even comes down to, do you want a sort of creamy, sweet texture to the foods and the taste, or are you wanting something salty and sour? And really just having a really sort of good exploration of what actually does taste good for you. And it's quite an exciting one to bring into your intuitive eating practice. And it really does bring a great deal of enjoyment back to food, where you might have disconnected from that for a really, really long time. Because if you ever did go off track, so to speak, on a diet and thought, sod it, I'm going to eat the chocolate cake, you would probably find you'll be eating that chocolate cake with a load of guilt on the side, and that will totally disrupt your attunement to enjoying it and really tasting it fully, because you'll often be too busy thinking about the guilt of eating it, and then it dismantles the actual satisfaction factor. So principle 6 is respect your fullness. So in its simplest terms, it's as per the title, it's just knowing when your body's no longer hungry, and knowing that you're happy to stop eating. Obviously diet culture dismantles that recognition of hunger and fullness, as per the principle 2 that I talked about. So the work to do around this with intuitive eating is just to start to observe what fullness feels like in your body. So that's the first step, and usually a helpful way to start that aspect is to just sit without distractions. It doesn't have to be for every meal a day to start with, but just if there was one meal a day that you think you could sit and just actually really listen and pay attention to how the food tastes and any signs of physical fullness that signals that you're ready to stop eating, is actually a really gentle and supportive way to introduce this principle when you're ready. Principle 7 then is honouring your feelings without using food. So it's looking more down the lens of emotional eating, and the main awareness to have around this principle is recognition that if you are noticing that you're eating to numb out or squash down uncomfortable feelings, then in the long term, it's not physically going to make you feel great, and also it doesn't actually fix or solve the uncomfortable feelings that you're using food to cope with. So again, it's a gentle approach. It's not based on criticism, but it's exploring the emotions further with non-food based coping strategies to help you actually process those feelings without using food, and then that benefits you both from a health perspective and a psychological perspective. So principle 8 is called respect your body, and it really looks at the issues people face as a result of dieting, where their sense of self-worth and body image is usually completely in your boots, so to speak. And I know that's how I felt, having done so many years of dieting, that I really felt a lot of my self-worth was attached to my body shape and size, and I just wanted to lose weight to be thin. That was my only motivation during my dieting years. So this is a fantastic principle if you also feel that that's sort of your current level of awareness around body image. And it really looks at just neutralising the body image with moving away from looking at it from a physical perspective, and supporting you to reframe those thoughts with more empowering thoughts of what qualities that are non-physical you could acknowledge as being important and valuable. So it starts to give you a greater sense of acceptance of self, with a non-image focused value in mind. It does take time, but it's really powerful practice, and it's a great complement and pivotal to all the other principles. And as I said at the start of this principle, one of the main causative factors of poor body image is dieting. So twinned with rejecting the diet mentality is a really powerful combination to recognise diets don't work, and also improve your sense of low self-worth related to body image through a more empowering practice ultimately. So principle 9 is called exercise, feel the difference. So recognition that movement is an important part of health, both physically and mentally. But ideally you would approach this principle when you have worked through the other 8 principles and done whatever healing is necessary with relationship to food and body, so that you don't approach exercise with a diet mentality, i.e. that you've got to, for example, burn off your calories, or use it as a punishment because, say, you'd overeaten. In your understanding, you'd overeaten on something you shouldn't have had, and you're using exercise to make up for it. So once you've made peace with your body through the other principles, this one is a lot easier to incorporate. And it's really looking about that, moving your body for how you would like to feel as the main priority. So again, it's like a neutral approach to movement, but bringing back the joy and recognizing that there's lots of different forms of exercise and movement that can be extremely beneficial for our health. Where dieting, you may have felt, revolved around having to do quite a lot of cardiovascular exercise, for example, or that you would have to go to the gym in order for it to count. This principle really supports the recognition that movement in all its forms is of great benefit to your health. And really what's important is for you to listen to your body and recognise what movement feels good for you. And also knowing that that's going to change throughout different seasons of your life. So you're not always going to want to do the same type of movement because your body's needs are going to be different. For example, your movement needs will be different at a younger stage of life versus a later stage of life. Having babies is going to change that. If you've had any illnesses, that would change. There's lots of different reasons to try different types of movement that can be extremely beneficial, without it having to focus on what a diet culture would teach you, which is that it just has to be about weight loss. It's just not true. In the intuitive eating framework, it's just not true. And it wants to be gentle and supportive. I mean, if you enjoy the gym, absolutely go for it. But it's just broadening your horizons to acknowledge that there's loads of types of exercise and movement out there that can be equally beneficial to your health. It doesn't just have to look one way. And the final principle, principle 10, is honour your health with gentle nutrition. So it's really great to share this one because it acknowledges that nutrition is important, and intuitive eating considers it very important to have supportive nutrition in place. But generally that is better approached once you've done whatever healing you need with your relationship with food and body, so that you don't approach gentle nutrition like a diet. So once you're in a place where you can approach it with trust and freedom and not make it into a set of rules, then that's the ideal time to introduce it. So that's why it's last on the list, but no less important by any stretch. So it's really just about making food choices that give you satisfaction in your eating experience, as well as supporting your physical health and your mental health, and that makes you feel well fueled, gives you good energy, but you don't feel deprived. In a nutshell, it's really about combining fats, protein, carbohydrates, fibre, water, healthy fats. So it's nothing rocket science, but it's just a really nice foundational aspect of nutrition that is there when you're ready to incorporate it. So it will help potentially to reduce any fears you've got about letting go of diets. Intuitive eating still incorporates very supportive nutrition information and advice based on research, but it does it at the end of nearer to the end of the framework rather than the beginning, so that you can approach it feeling really free, trusting in your body, and sort of ready to take on those further nutritional changes to support your physical health, really. And it's also about remembering that it's what you eat consistently over time that supports your health. One snack, one meal isn't going to make a big dent in your health overall. And it's sort of looking at it through a lens of progress, not perfection, when it comes to gentle nutrition. So now that you know a bit more about the 10 principles and you want to get started, my first recommendation is to download here by clicking on the link above. The beginner's guide to intuitive eating. There's a video all about how to get started, and a free download for you that's got resources and also links to purchase the books for intuitive eating. There's a workbook as well, so you can sort of have something a little bit more structured to get you started. And also within that is rejecting the diet mentality as your first step. So that would be my recommendation for you if this is the first sort of your first introduction to the work, is to really focus on where you're at the moment with, you know, your experiences with dieting. So letting go of it in a few aspects of it would be stopping counting calories and anything that sort of measures with those external values of dieting what you should eat. So that's one really great first step to take. Decluttering social media accounts. So if you're following accounts that promote pursuit of weight loss and focus on body image, you know, helpful to let go of those and replace them with more supportive accounts that are more inclusive and neutral of you know, health and wellness through an intuitive eating perspective. There's links to those in my free guide as well. If you're wondering who to follow, there's some great recommendations in there. Stopping tracking. So if you've got any apps that you use, such as like MyFitnessPal, then if you're ready to let go of those, then do. Also either stopping weighing yourself or weighing yourself less frequently, so that you're more able to tap into your inner wisdom and let go of that external measure, which, you know, also is really dismantling for your body image, is a really helpful one. If you're not ready to do that yet, that's fine. Sometimes it takes a bit of time to build up trust in the work to feel ready to let go of the scales. And finally, letting go of any sort of books, magazines, anything like that where you've been following particular diets. Just stopping those is great. If that was the only thing you did from watching this video, then that would be fantastic, a fantastic start. And if you do feel like you've already made a good start with the work and you're ready to have some more support beyond the initial resources, then do feel welcome to book a complimentary discovery call with me. I offer both one-to-one coaching, and I'm about to start a group program as well to really help people integrate the work, because the independent learning will take you so far to understand the work, but integrating it will always be best supported by someone else that's a little bit further along in the process to guide you through it and help you integrate it. So group or one-to-one support is absolutely fantastic in order to really help you make those changes to transform your health. I've helped a lot of clients now over the last couple of years that have worked with me, and they've got absolutely fantastic results. And I can speak for myself with my own transformation that I've talked about in my other videos, also up here, if you want to have a look at my health transformation with intuitive eating, to give you some further hope that these changes are possible for anybody. It's not that you have to be a certain way to, you know, be successful, like diets. You don't have to be in any way special or have a certain sort of set of traits in order for this work to support you. It's a healing framework, so all you need is a willingness to commit to the healing process, and the work will support you fantastically. So yeah, link below if you want to book a discovery call. The link's in the description box. And I'd be delighted to hear from you, just to have a chat about where you're at with your health at the moment and whether we're a good fit for coaching and what that would look like moving forwards for you to make a commitment to do some further healing together. So I hope this video has been helpful for you, and I will see you again in the next one.